Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. It is time for another edition of Much Abrew About Nothing. And this week, we're playing Commander in Legacy. We are bringing maybe the best ever multiplayer mechanic, Monarch, to the Legacy format with Mono White Monarch Prison, a deck that's all about getting Court of Grace, Commander Legend, All-Star, Court of Grace on the battlefield as quickly as possible, trying to maintain the monarchy, make tokens with it, win the game. So let's talk about this spicy Mono White Monarch Prison deck. Jump into a Legacy League and see it in action. All right, so here is our Mono White Monarch Prison deck. And the plan of this deck is pretty straightforward. The most important thing we're trying to do is get Court of Grace on the battlefield as quickly as possible. The Commander Legends All-Star enchantment is actually a pretty sweet card in our deck. This is what the deck's all about. So 4-mana enchantment, it makes us the Monarch. So by itself, the Monarch is going to let us draw an extra card every single turn as long as we remain the Monarch. And then on our upkeep, we get a 1/1 Spirit, kind of Bitter Blossom style, unless we're the Monarch. Then we get a 4/4 Angel instead. So Court of Grace, it's our card advantage engine and our finisher. What we want to do with this deck is get down Court of Grace, try to make sure we stay the Monarch, and then parlay the card advantage and the big tokens from Court of Grace into a victory. So to get Court of Grace on the battlefield, we got lands that tap for 2 mana and Chrome Mox. In theory, this could give us a turn 1 Court of Grace. It would take 2 Chrome Moxes and empty our hand, but technically possible. In reality, though, turn 2, turn 3, more likely for our Court of Grace. Then we have a ton of ways to remain the Monarch. So remember, the way you lose the crown is taking combat damage from one of your opponent's creatures. So we have Palace Jailer, Skyclave Apparition, Solitude, always to remove our opponent's creatures, Ghostly Prison, slowing down go wide decks. Palace Jailer also just makes us the Monarch. So if our opponent does manage to steal the crown, we can only just play a Palace Jailer to get it back. And that is the main goal of the deck. We also have an Archon of Emiria. And the biggest thing I'm afraid of with this deck is it seems like it could be weak to spell-based combos like Palace Jailer, Skyclave, Solitude, Ghostly Prison. All these cards are pretty close to dead against Storm-style combo decks, other big turn spell-based combo decks. So Archon of Emiria gives us at least some main deck chance to fight against this style of deck, making it so each player can only cast 1 spell each turn, really good against decks like Storm. We also have Chalice of the Void, which is good against a lot of decks. It's good against combo decks, it's good against cantrip decks, it's good against Delver decks. They have a ton of 1-drops. Suppression Field mostly fights against fetch lands. We got no fetch lands in our deck, so we have very few activated abilities. So it's kind of a free roll, and sometimes we get this down on like turn 1 on the play, and our opponent has a handful of fetch lands and just can't make mana for the rest of the game. Mana base, we talked about the 2-mana lands, Ancient Tomb and City of Traders, Caracas, good at bouncing Ragavans and Grizzlebrands and Emeralds. Emiria's Call, sometimes we cast it. We can also pitch it to our Chrome Mox, so it is pretty synergistic in our deck. In the sideboard, we get some more help against the spell-based combo decks. Thalia, Sanctum Prelate, not sure that's going to be enough. We'll have to wait and see. Cathar Commando to deal with artifacts and enchantments. Containment Priest, Rest in Peace for graveyard and Reanimator style decks. And that is Mono White Monarch Prison for Legacy. That's our Much Abrew deck for this week. So can maybe the best mechanic of all time for multiplayer formats, Monarch, actually do something, make waves in a 60-card competitive format like Legacy? Let's jump into a league and find out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit with a wrap-up. Need some new Innistrad Midnight Hunt cards? Well, you can order them now from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, by heading over to cardkingdom.com. Much Abrew About Nothing time. We are playing some Legacy this week with, oh boy, with some Mono White Monarch Prison. That sounds interesting. Yeah, I don't think this does enough. I think we got a mulligan. All right, well, this will keep. We will put a Solitude to the bottom. And, well, Emiria's Call tapped, go. See what our opponent's doing. Suppression Field, good against fetch lands. Archon, it's a clock. It's good against combo decks in specific. We will see. No fast mana. Mono blue, okay. About it. Plays a land, passes. Well, Skyclave Apparition, that's a nice answer to a future creature, I guess. Suppression Field. Please be playing fetch lands. Suppression Field's great against fetch lands. This basic island makes me nervous, though. There are not too many decks that just slam a basic island in Legacy on turn 1. And if our opponent's some sort of mono blue deck without fetch lands, Suppression Field's going to be much, much worse. Oh boy, another basic island. All right, so opponent might be like High Tide. I don't know what other mono blue decks there are in the format that actually see a reasonable amount of play. Well, we will play Caracas. We will run out Archon of Emeria. Well, if our opponent's a combo deck, Archon is good. Opponent brainstorms, probably looking for a Force of Will, I guess, to try to stop this Archon. So far, Suppression Field, not looking great. Opponent finds a Force of Will. Okay. Pitches Predict. So opponent's got to be High Tide. They got to be High Tide. Unfortunate they found the Force there. Well, we do have another Archon. This is probably our most important card. Prismatic. Okay, there is a fetch that is getting taxed, which is nice. Oh, come on, Archon. We need you to resolve, buddy. We need you to resolve. Plains, Archon. Yeah, I feel like this is oh no, double Force. Oh, I feel like this is probably a really bad matchup for our deck. Especially, yeah, this is probably just a really bad matchup. We have a lot of cards that do nothing. Our cards that do something are now in the graveyard thanks to double Force of Will draw. Opponent, Polluted Delta, gets a land. Did they fail to find? Well, all right, go Skyclave Apparition. Oh yeah. Get in there, Tutu. Yeah, Skyclave, I mean, I guess at least it's a body, but it is basically a dead card. Scalding Tarn for our opponent. I mean, I guess the Suppression Field has done a little bit. Not as much as we were hoping, but I mean, in some matchups, this just wins the game. We really need a Plains. That was what I was about to say. We really need another Plains. I'm feeling like we're probably dead in the very near future here. Opponent predicts. Do they draw 2 or 1? They don't know what's on top of their deck. They draw 1. They mill a Flusterstorm. Come on, good card. I guess in some sense, Palace Jailer is a good card. It's another 2/2 that doesn't do much, but becoming the Monarch is fine. We really need to find more Archons, Chalices, something. The amount of mana our opponent has makes me think that they are about to win at any moment. Well, Palace Jailer. It's just this is the wrong matchup for every non-Archon card that we've drawn about it. Going to Cunning Wish. Okay, well, that probably means we die. Gets a Pact of Negation. Pass the Pact of Negation. All right, well, play the land, pass the turn. I mean, I guess that means our opponent's not close to winning if they're spending their turn paying for a Pact of Negation. We just have no clock. We have kind of drawn a ridiculous amount of lands. Our deck has 20 non-Emeria lands, and then 4 Emerias. So 24 altogether, counting the Emerias. Opponent, gonna pay for the Pact. Oh, come on, hate cards. Come on, Archon. Opponent passes. Ghostly Prison. That card that's a literal dead card. I know we called Skyclave dead, and it's not quite 100% dead because it can attack for 2. Ghostly Prison, we're not even casting it. There's no point in casting it. It does literally nothing. Quite literally. Opponent. Are we winning the game? Opponent ponders. The good news is we do have some decent sideboard options. I don't know if we have enough to get rid of all the dead cards. I still think this is probably just a poor matchup for our deck in general. Chalice. That is a real draw. I'll go to combat, attack you. The question is, what number do we Chalice on? All right, so let's look at a deck list. So here's a hypothetical, not necessarily our opponent's deck, but a High Tide deck. There's one person that plays High Tide all the time. Putting it on 1 hits cantrips and it hits High Tide. Putting it on 2 hits tutors. Putting it on 3 stops Cunning Wish. Can our opponent win the game if they can't Cunning? I don't see a win condition, right? So they can cantrip a million times. I mean, assuming our opponent's list is something like this, I almost think we just put it on 3 because it seems like these decks are using Cunning Wish to try to get Brain Freeze from the sideboard to win the game. I think it's 3. Boy, it'd be sweet if this resolved. It does mean we can't play our Ghostly Prison, which we will not lose any sleep over. Chalice 3. Do you have another counter? So far, 2 forces and a Pact of Negation. So the idea is, assuming our opponent's list is something like the list we were looking at. Wow, all right, another force. Jeez, so we can still die at any moment. About it. Merchant Scroll. Here comes death. High Tide. Cast it. And Time Spiral. And game. Did our opponent forget to untap their lands? No. Jeez. Well, in some ways, that's just kind of unfortunate that this is how it worked out. Our opponent just drew all of their Force of Wills. And those Force of Wills, like, we had 3 cards that would have made it very difficult for our opponent to do anything. So we actually had good cards. As far as our deck's concerned, we had a lot of decent cards for the matchup. Unfortunately, our opponent just had all the defense this game. The one thing I hate about playing against High Tide, similar to Lotus Field combo in like Pioneer Modern, is it's not deterministic. Like right now, it's like 99.99999% that our opponent's gonna win. But there is that 0.000000001% that they could have drawn 6 lands. So we probably have to sit here for 15 or 20 minutes as our opponent goldfishes in hopes that the 1 in a million happens. That's the only way to avoid the yelling of the YouTubes. I promised I would try not to early scoop. So how's your week been? How's things going? Anyone do anything fun lately? 24 mana. Well, it's kind of disappointing how this worked out. Merchant Scroll. I think we can safely concede now. That can get a Cunning Wish. A Cunning Wish, like, I think the odds of our opponent fizzling at this point are very close to 0. So the good news is Sanctum Prelate's good. Thalia's good. Oh, that was a little brutal. That was just a tiny bit brutal. I actually thought we had a chance there. If we could have resolved one of those spells, we would have had it. Solitude's a dead card. Ghostly Prison is the epitome of dead. Chalice is good. Court of Grace is necessary. Palace Jailer might stick around because Skyclave does nothing. Palace Jailer might stick around just to try to draw us cards. Suppression Field's not great, but we don't have a ton of other options. Does a Rest in Peace do anything? Not really. Like, I guess it stops Time Spiral from shuffling stuff back in. That doesn't seem that great, though. Yeah, I mean, I guess we try to increase our clock. So bring in more creatures, bring in all the hate cards, and hope for the best. See if we can dodge a Force of Will. If we could have resolved a single one of those 8 cards, I think things would have went much differently. Well, we will keep. We will play a Plains. Pass the turn. I mean, we got some hate cards. We'll see if they're enough. See if they resolve. About it. Prismatic Vesta. Cracks it. Gets an island. Passes. I'll play Caracas. Play Thalia. Pass the turn. Do you have a Force of Will? Again. Opponent brainstorms, trying to find the Force of Will. Can they keep the good times rolling? Not this time. All right, so Thalia down. That should slow our opponent down a bit at least. Opponent plays an island. Well, that's good. We finally resolved a relevant card. Question's gonna be, what do we do next turn? Probably Archon, I guess. Opponent passes. Well, Ancient Tomb. Go to combat. Hit ya. Down to 17. Archon of Emeria. 2 layers of protection. Opponent taps. This is looking better. This is looking better. Ooh, Prismatic Vesta tap. That means we can maybe get down the suppression field for even more taxing. Go to combat. Hit ya. Down to 13. Yeah, I think we suppression field. Play suppression field. Emeria's call tapped. Go. So this means our opponent's got to pay 2 to crack their Prismatic Vesta. Island. Oh, we might be taxing our opponent enough here. Maybe. The Emeria is going to be expensive with the Thalia, by the way. I know we're close to 7 mana, but 8 mana if we have the Emeria. All right, opponent cracks Prismatic Vesta. Passes. Well, play a Plains. Go to combat. Attack you. Down to 10. Down to 8. Palace Jailer. Become the Monarch. Ooh, Chalice. Okay, Chalice is also good. Well, we'll see. We'll see if our opponent can get out from under this. Island. We're 2 turns away from winning. Teferi's around. Beginning each player's upkeep, that player chooses artifacts, creatures, lands, or non-aura permanents. All non-token permanents of that type phase out. Okay. So we will choose enchantment. Actually, what happens if we choose land? Our opponent's lands will phase back in. All right, so let's go enchantment. We draw an Ancient Tomb. We go to combat. We hit our opponent down to 6, down to 2. We play Ancient Tomb. Chalice of the Void. X3. Pass the turn. Draw a card. We'll see if having this Chalice can keep us alive. So opponent can phase out our creatures. They can phase out our creatures, but then we still have the Chalice to hopefully keep us alive. Oh, we'll see. Phases out the creatures. Well, this is it. Can our opponent win the game through the Chalice on 3? Hopefully no. Opponent, High Tides. They're going for it. I mean, maybe they can. 8 mana. Time to kick back. Again, watch our opponent dirtle for a while. I mean, this is about as much as we can hope for, honestly. Like, considering that a lot of our cards just don't do anything against High Tide, I think this is This is about as good of a setup as we could have. Opponent going to tutor up a blue instant. Ah, that's kind of unfortunate. This Teferi's Realm gets a turnabout. Kind of sweet tech to get rid of hate cards against a deck like ours. Opponent untaps. I mean, the question is, can they win the game through this Chalice? Or do they have a main deck answer to Chalice that they're going to find? Dress down. Sure. Doesn't do anything. Opponent plays a land. Floats mana. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to set up a high tide. Another dress down. Draws another card. Brainstorm. That's kind of an interesting answer to our creatures as well. For a turn. Preordain. Did we put the Chalice on the right number? That's the question. Preordain. It's the same theory we talked about in game 1. Like, they can cast all their spells, but can they win the game? Well, preordain. Storm count's getting super high. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they moved answers into the main deck that they can find. Maybe they moved a finisher into the main deck. Opponent redraws and taps all their lands. In some sense, I hope they have a way to win the game, and they aren't just doing all this knowing that they can't win. Yeah, this is not the Monarchy Prison matchup. So many of our hate cards just don't do anything against this deck. Opponent floats all the mana. Storm count up to 10. Unfloats all the mana. Yeah. High tide again. And a ponder. Can you win the game, opponent? Can you win the game? Okay, so opponent brought hate cards into the main deck. Here goes Recall. Now I think we can safely concede. They had the answers to Teferi's Realm and found the Recall eventually. Intuition. All right, now we can, well, we'll let you see what they intuition for and then we'll concede. I assume that this is probably another draw 7, make a bunch of mana, or it's just an actual win con, like 3 Cunning Wishes to get Brain Freeze. On to the next one. Yeah, this is a uniquely horrible matchup. You get a Flusterstorm, I guess. I assume this doesn't make a difference. Opponent predicts. All right, there's a Cunning Wish. They did not make it look easy, but they got there. Not a great matchup for Monarch Prison, I don't think. Not at all. Much Abrew About Nothing time. We are playing some... well, we're going to keep this. I wish we had some fast mana, but other than not having fast mana, well, I guess it depends on the matchup. In a lot of matchups, this hand would be good. Hopefully our opponent's playing some sort of a non-combo deck. This hand is probably at its worst against some sort of Storm deck. We're playing a mono-white Monarch Prison in Legacy this week. Tropical Island opponent passing. Well, Plains and Chalice of the Void on 1. Do you have a Daze or a Spell Pierce or something similar? Brainstorms. So I assume they're looking for an answer to this. Chalice is good against most decks. All right, well, it resolves. Well, that's good. I mean, at worst, that shuts down future Brainstorms. The opponent cracks the fetch, gets a Underground Sea, and Sylvan Library. Well, I guess we should probably answer that. Opponent drawing a bunch of extra cards seems bad for us. Skyclave. Get rid of the Sylvan Library. Well, we would like to find another land. We would like to find another land to start getting on Palace Jailers. That would be super sweet. Another land also potentially lets us Chalice 1 and Chalice 2. Opponent. True name Nemesis. See what we find. There's a Plains. I guess we Ghostly Prison. Pass the turn. I mean, this true name is a bit of an issue. We don't have a way to kill it, so we're gonna just have to, I guess, try to race it. The Ghostly Prison is at least gonna make it a little annoying for our opponent to attack with. Opponent. Land. Cracks it. I don't know what our opponent's playing. Some 4-color value pile. Almost thought seized into our Chalice. Maelstrom Pulse to get rid of the Chalice. Ponders. Hell, we got another Chalice that we can get down. Yeah, True Name is super annoying. It's not attacking this turn. This feels like a matchup where taxing fetch lands would be really good. Do we have anything that can actually kill this? I'm not sure that we do. Not really. Well, I guess we just gotta live with the True Name. What we would like is maybe a Court of Grays. Opponent passes. Do we run it out? Or do we play the Chalice? Yeah, let's do it. Court of Grace. Opponent. Do you have an answer? All right, so we get to be the Monarch. This is kind of interesting because it's, if our opponent wants to steal the crown, they are going to have to pay the 2 for the True Name. And then hopefully that means we just get it back with the Skyclave. I don't think our opponent can let us keep the crown. This is going to be interesting because we can't really stop this from stealing the crown from us, but we can tax our opponent if they want to. So we're going to have this weird monarchy battle. Opponent, going to get it and hit us. Going to steal the crown temporarily. Got to pay the price. All right, opponent pays the 2. So they steal the crown. We drop to 17. finds a Thoughtseize. Well, the good news is this is going to be a close race. This is 2 damage, which could be relevant with how close this is looking. I assume our opponent takes the Chalice, but we'll see. At the same time, we might not even have the luxury of casting Chalice at this point. We kind of need to, we could use a land that makes 2 mana. That would be the best. Because we do need to steal this crown back. Opponent takes a Palace Jailer, plays a Tropical Island, and a Living Wish. So opponent's just playing some sort of creature pile, gets a Uro, draws a card. Well, we get to make a 1/1, go to combat, steal the crown back. The Uro's gonna make winning the race difficult. I mean, I guess the Palace Jailer can get it eventually. Hit you with the Skyclave, steal back the crown. Chalice on 1 returns. Wow, opponent forces it. Interesting. All right. Pitching the Uro. Okay, well, I guess this is the game. The battle for the crown. We get to draw an extra card. Skyclave, not bad, although it's still true name. This true name, so impossible to kill. Polluted Delta. Opponent hits us, steals the crown. So we're kind of in this mode where each player is going to draw an extra card every turn by the looks. Down to 14. Opponent gets the crown to get the card. Oh, we untap. We make a 1/1. We draw a Suppression Field. We'll go to combat. Attack you. We get back the crown. How do we want to do this? Let's Mox. Pitch the Skyclave. Suppression Field. Our opponent countering? All right, force a negation. Well, we will Archon of Emeria. Go. Get a card. It's another Archon. I mean, we're kind of winning the race just by having more creatures. Opponent cracks a land down to 9. Ponders. I mean, I don't think we're in horrible shape. We've kind of just been able to make a big enough board to race this protection from us true name nemesis. Opponent goes to combat, gonna hit us, gonna take the crown. There's not a huge point to staying on defense because so many of our creatures have flying. Opponent scoops it up. Okay. We got there. Through the true name nemesis. Well, that wasn't bad. This is a matchup where maybe our deck can shine a bit. I wish I knew what our opponent was doing. It's just like a 5-color mid-range pile by the looks. So what's bad? Chalice, opponent fought over it, seems good. This might be a matchup where our main deck is kind of set up pretty well. Probably our weakest card is Archon of Emeria. Our opponent's not really storming off by the look, so we can probably get rid of Archon, but like creature removal's good, permanent removal's good. Ghostly Prison seems good enough. Court of Grace, Finisher. So what are we bringing in place of Archon of Emeria? Rest in Peace would slow down Uro. Thalia taxes our opponent's random cantrips. I guess it taxes some of our stuff too. We don't really have an answer to true name. That's just going to be a thing. I wonder if it's worth bringing in Rest in Peace. Is there any argument to bringing in Rest in Peace? The only real graveyard card we saw was Uro, and I don't know if it's worth just fighting Uro. Yeah, we just got to assume they're just a pile of good magic cards, essentially. Let's go Thalia, Rest in Peace. You know what? Let's go. We have ways to just kill the Uro. Let's bring in the Archon of Emeria. Okay, let's go 2/2. Let's do it like that. Archon, it's not going to stop our opponents from like storming off because they're not trying to do that, but making our opponent's lands come into play tapped is something. This hand is, we have a land that makes 2 mana, but this hand's pretty bad. It doesn't really do anything. This hand's a little sketchy, but we're going to keep it. The bad news is we got a lot of double white cards and we have a lot of colorless lands. Are we getting Thoughtseize? No. Ponder. I mean, in theory, we can turn 1 Ghostly Prison. Definitely gonna need to find another white source. Just drawing a Plains would be nice. Like Ghostly Prison into Palace Jailer would be a pretty good start. And then hopefully we can play this City of Traders in a way that it sticks around. I don't think we can afford to just play it and lose it. Becoming the Monarch would be good. Opponent ponders, passes, Ancient Tomb, Mox, exile Skyclave, Ghostly Prison, go. Come on, Plains. We need that white mana about our adapts. Misty Rainforest. Cracks it. Hopefully it's not Sylvan Library. We've lost 2 Skyclaves. We put 1 to the bottom and just exiled 1 to Mox. So a Sylvan Library would stick. We're kind of hoping our opponent plays a creature and we get to yoink it with Palace Jailer and become the Monarch to start drawing cards. That would be the best. Opponent gets a Tundra. Ouch. That's real bad news. Well, we do draw the white source, but we still need another one past the turn. Whoo, yeah, that was rough. Now we're back down to having one white source of mana. Brainstorm. Yeah, I wonder, is Prismatic any a reason not to play the Chrome Moxes? Opponent. Pump fake. Brainstorms again. Palace Jailer's kind of our brainstorm. The Monarchy is the way we generate card advantage. We don't get all the cantrips like our opponent deck does, but we do have ways of stopping the cantrips. Kind of weak brainstorms. Opponent's brainstorm locked. White mana. Oh my god. All right. Pass the turn. Opponent's brainstorm locked, but we can't punish them because we don't have the mana to cast a Palace Jailer. So this means our opponent's not drawing land for 2 more turns. Come on. White mana. White mana. White mana. White mana. There it is. All right. Palace Jailer. Please. Opponent's gonna force pitching Uro while we pass the turn. Opponent drawing a non-land. Passes. Well, now that we got 2 white mana, we're at least in business. Amiria's Call. Well, maybe we should play the City of Traders. Yeah, let's play City of Traders. Palace Jailer. Please resolve. All right, we get our card draw going finally. Oh, that's big. That's big. That's big. Well, opponent's in a bit of trouble because they got brainstorm locked. And now we're going to start drawing cards to refuel. Opponent snuffs out. Sure, that's fine. We don't really care. Opponent runs out of Snapcaster to steal the crown. Well, that's a way they can maybe get out of this. Opponent gonna hit us to steal the crown. Sure. Actually, we could Solitude it. Is it worth it? Probably. Get rid of the Snapcaster. Well, we both wasted a bunch of cards. The upside is we get to keep the crown here, and our opponent does not get to draw out of their mana screw. Chrome Mox doesn't do much. Well, we will pass the turn. Well, as long as we got the crown, things cannot be too bad for us. Extra card. Thalia. Thalia is actually kind of sweet. Opponent. Passing. Opponent's not having much luck here. Their brainstorms were pretty bad. Do we just want a Thalia? Thalia or Court of Grace? Yeah, let's just Thalia. Pass the turn. I mean, this slows down our opponent's cantrips and random removal spells. It also makes it so they can't ambush the Monarchy with Snapcaster. Now we get to draw a card. Opponent. Swords of Thalia. Oh my god, All right, so probably get a little yelled out there because we could have saved it with Caracas. Ugh, should have been paying a tiny bit more attention. About it. Thoughtseize. Well, I assume they're taking the Court of Grace. Yeah, that was a bit of a punt. Definitely a bit of a punt. We will accept the punt on that one. Opponent passing. Play a Plains. We lose the City of Traders. That's fine. Pass the turn. Yeah, definitely regret not using that Caracas. Oh my god. Okay, well, there's all the lands. We're finding all the lands. Opponent. Passing. Can we draw some action? Please. Ghostly Prison. Well, I mean, I guess we leave up the Caracas. Ghostly Prison number 2. This is going to make it really difficult for our opponent to steal the crown. Like, they just don't have the amount of mana they need to. All right, Force Negation, pitching a Jace. They just don't really have the amount of mana they need to do anything. Solitude. Opponent taps. I mean, they're going to find a land. Wow, still no land. Opponent's getting a bit unlucky. Chalice. Land. Chalice on, I guess, just 1. All right, another Force Indigo. So opponent's just drawn a million counters. We've actually caught up in cards, though, thanks to having the crown for... Ooh, Archon, all right. We've actually caught up in cards, thanks to having the crown for so many turns. Opponent. More Thought Seizing. Yeah, let's run out the Solitude. Just to have a clock. And a bonus scoops it up. Okay. Well, we got to see our deck do what it wanted to do. We also got to see our opponent get super brutalized by the magic gods. Our opponent had 3 lands in their top 19 cards, and they brainstorm locked themselves. So really, like, our deck did do what it wanted to do. We got to get the crown early, got to generate card advantage with it. Little punt with the Caracas that didn't end up mattering in the end. Our opponent, though, just didn't really get to play Magic. One of those games, sometimes you play Magic, sometimes you don't. This was a don't for our opponent. Well, we'll take it. We'll take it. Sweet, sweet. Much Brew About Nothing time. We are legacying this week with Mono White Monarchy Prison, and well, let's see if we can make this work. This hand is kind of what we want. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Court of Grace, potentially. We will see if any of our spells resolve. That is always a big if in a Force of Will, Force of Negation format. Well, Chalice on 1. Pass the turn. Opponent. Urza's Saga. Okay. And a Ornithopter. I'll play a Plains. Play a Chrome Mox. pitching Suppression Field, Court of Grace. I mean, turn 2 Court of Grace is pretty legit. Become the Monarch. Pass the turn. Opponent shouldn't be able to steal it back this turn, hopefully. City of Traders, not super helpful. Digs up the Saga, plays an Ancient Tomb so he can make a construct. Opponent passes. Well, we get to make a 4/4, which is huge. Like, this is our deck when it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our deck when it's kind of functioning optimally. Like, turn 2 Court of Grace is, I think, the most powerful thing our deck can do. We could stop drawing lands now. That would be acceptable. Opponent's gonna make the construct. We draw another Court of Grace. Opponent untaps. I mean, another Court of Grace is fine. Opponent gonna make another construct. Sure. Gets to tutor something up. I mean, we can solitude a construct if we need to, and we probably will need to. Mox Opal for some manas and no more lands. No more lands for sure. Oh my god, another Urza Saga. Okay, about it. Gotta be like Thought Monitor, I assume. Chalice on 0 might actually be better than Chalice on 1 in this matchup. Thought Cast draws. Well, can Court of Grace keep up with the constructs? Now I kind of wish we kept the Suppression Field. That actually is good against the Urza Saga. Opponent goes to combat. No attacks. We will Solitude. Get rid of a construct. Untap. Make a 4/4 for free. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, can we do all this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, all right, City of Traders. Amiria's Call. And I mean, I guess we're going aggro now. I mean, this is a pretty insane draw. This is the best the deck has been able to function by far. Like, that was kind of insane. Like, you could see the power of the deck here. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Court of Grace, turn 3 Solitude, turn 4 Amiria's Call. That's a legit start. We even had a Court of Grace left over in hand. That went really, really well. Against Affinity, what do we want against Affinity? Well, we get Commandos. These Commandos seem really good. All the Commandos come in. That might be it. I mean, we have a lot of creature removal, which is good. We have a decent amount of like permanent removal. I mean, this might be about it. So Ghostly Prison's good. Archon's probably the weakest card. I guess Suppression Field. Do we cut Suppression Field? That's the other question. How good is Suppression Field? I assume our opponent's deck's not playing fetch lands. I mean, I guess it's good against like Ravager effects. Maybe it's decent against Saga. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe we just go down the Archon of Amiria's. Try like that. Artifact Hate in, Storm Hate out, and see if we can do that again. Because that went incredibly well. Like, if our deck can do that consistently, the deck's probably pretty good. All right, opponent, show us what you got. I mean, we're on the draw this time, but this actually looks a bit like last game. Opponent, Ancient Den, Esper Sentinel. That is obnoxious. Play a Plains, Chalice on 0, and pay the 1. Opponent, Seat of the Synod. What I would give for a Vandal Blast. Opponent gets an It's a sure. Down at 19. Draws a couple cards. You know, play the land, pass the turn. We could ambush with this Commando. I don't know if it's worth it though. Opponent, combat. It's us. Yeah, we're gonna take it. Down to 18. Artifact removal seems pretty valuable. All right, there's an Urza Saga. Cathar Commando. Untap. I feel like we gotta blow this up. Go to combat. Hit ya. Opponent. Down to 17, hopefully. All right, so hit our opponent. Ancient Tomb. Skyclave Apparition. Get rid of the Sentinel. And then Commando. Blow up the Saga. Pass the turn. That was a pretty good turn. Opponent's down to just 2 lands on the battlefield, and they can't play the free spells because we got the Chalice. Opponent can play the free spells because they blew up the Chalice. Mox Opal, Seat of the Synod. Play the land, go to combat, hit ya. And yeah, I mean, we're going to Court of Grace. Become the Monarch, start the card draw, and with 2 Solitudes in hand, I think we're in a good spot here. I mean, this is going swimmingly, and opponent scoops it up, and that was a really sweet game for our deck. Like, that was our deck running super optimally. So you can see the power of what the deck can do. It can really just run away with games, and Court of Grace is kind of an absurd finisher once it gets going. We got to see like the good and the bad of how this deck works throughout our matches. Like, sometimes it works insanely well, other times The Monarchy is such an interesting mechanic in two-player games because there's times when it feels like we can't play the Court of Grace because our opponent's just going to steal it. Really, really interesting. Interesting to see this multiplayer mechanic making its way into Legacy and sometimes being really powerful, but sweet, sweet, sweet. Much brew about nothing time. We're keeping. We are legacying this week with Mono White Enchantment Prison, or Mono White Monarchy Prison, rather, with a lot of enchantments at the moment. All right, how do we do this? I think we Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, pitch a Ghostly Prison, and then play a Ghostly Prison, and then pray to the magic gods that our opponent's a creature deck that actually gets harmed by Ghostly Prison. I mean, this sounds pretty good, though. In theory, turn 1, 3 mana Ghostly Prison, turn 2, Court of Grace. We'll see. We'll see how many counters might be involved. All right, Force of Will, pitching Delver. Well, we'll see if we resolve anything. Opponent untaps. After the turn 1 Force, plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks a Scalding Tarn. Oh my god, are we gonna get dazed? Are we gonna get dazed? Opponent, Ragavan. That's bad news. So we will play Suppression Field. We needed that Ghostly Prison. We needed that Ghostly Prison because now we can't even run out the Court of Graces because we're just giving our opponent the Monarchy. So we got to find an answer to Ragavan so we can Court of Grace, but our opponent's going to make treasures. So Ragavan's so busted because our opponent's going to be able to make treasures. So they're still going to be able to cast stuff even though they stole a Plains. Well, we didn't really want a Plains. Opponent ponders. Oh no, that Force of Will. Yeah, that Force of Will's good. And so is Ragavan. Well, we have a lot of things that answer creatures. Whether we can draw one and then resolve one is another question. I really want to resolve this Court of Grace desperately. The problem is if we do this and then our opponent counters the Solitude, we're in really bad shape. Boy, 2 for 1-ing ourselves to kill the Ragavan feels so bad. All right, I mean, I guess we just gotta pass. Yeah, this is so awkward because they can also Wasteland. Opponent untaps, goes to combat, gets in with old Busty. It's us. Down to 12. Steals Archon of Emeria. That's a card we would have enjoyed. Opponent can use the treasures to cast it if they want. Opponent is going to cast the Archon of Emeria, which means we still can't really Court of Grace. Like we can, but our opponent steals it, and then we give our opponent the Monarchy and we lose. Well, all right, see if this works. Palace Jailer. We get dazed, and on to game number 2. Hi! Yeah, there's been a big conversation in Legacy lately about the banning of days or something from the Delver shell, and it hasn't happened yet, but I would not be surprised if it does at some point. Well, I probably can't actually bring him pre-late. Oh, Suppression Field can be so good. Oh, we have a lot of pieces that are really good against this deck. The question is, can we actually get any of them to resolve? So we'll go down some Archons, we'll go up some Thalias. We're on the play. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna go for it. Our opponent can't daze. Let's see if they got the Force of Will. Like, Chalice on 1 is really good against our opponent's deck. Well, all right, City of Traders and a Chalice of the Void on 1. Do you have a Force? Appears the answer might be yes. All right, Force pitching Expressive Iteration. Opponent untaps. Scalding Tarn, cracks it. Volcanic Island, and Dragon Rage Channeler. It says Modern Horizons 2 Tribal. We will play I'll tap the City of Traders, play Caracas, lose the City of Traders, Ghostly Prison. Opponent, do we have a free counter spell? All right, Force pitching Force. I mean, we had literally exactly, other than having to sack our City of Traders, we had the perfect start. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 1 Chalice, into turn 2 stop your creatures, but unfortunately, our opponent has a lot of free counter magic. Now we have 0 permanents. Tap land go. Well, now we are a minute or 2 away from playing Magic. Opponent Scalding Tarn. Opponent's only got a single card in hand, which is something in our favor. Opponent passes. We draw Plains, we play a Plains. We will play Suppression Field. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks the fetch, gets a Volcanic Island, untaps. Nope, does not untap. Lightning Bolt, going to Surveil. Leaves it on top again, down to 15. So what did our opponent leave on top? Another Lightning Bolt for more surveilling. We can Solitude to kill this Dragon Rage Channeler. It's not ideal, but it is a thing we could do. We would rather draw another way of killing it, down to 11. Chalice on 1 would be sweet still. Palace Jailer. Untap land. Archon of Emeria. We're down to 8 past the turn. Opponent untaps. Tap land. Passes. Trying to figure out what bear is eating. We will play Thalia. Go to combat, hit ya. Opponent untaps. Oh, land for this Palace Jailer would be wonderful. Opponent brainstorms for 2 mana, gets to surveil. Yeah, 1 more land would be the best. Opponent mills a ponder. That's another card type in the graveyard. I mean, if they manage to turn on the Dragon Rage Channeler, then we're definitely going to have to solitude it. We would prefer to draw land, play this Palace Jailer, get rid of it that way, and become the Monarch. Goes to combat, passes. Land? All right, there's a land. Palace Jailer. Did they find another daze? Okay, bonus gives it up. We got there. Oh, well, that was scary. Our opponent had a million counters, but they did 2-for-1 themselves a bunch of times. And because they 2-for-1 themselves a bunch of times, we were able to rebuild and fight through the counters. Oh, do we want to change anything else? What about, is Suppression Field worth it? Is it worth it on the draw? Rest in Peace does offer some value. I mean, they probably have Murktide Regents too. Yeah, maybe we got to bring in the Rest in Pieces. Suppression Field is really good turn 1 on the play. It's probably fine regardless against our opponent's deck. I mean, the Archon isn't that great. All right, let's go 3 Rest in Peace, 2 Suppression Fields. Let's try it like that. I mean, Suppression Field still does offer value. Our opponent does play a lot of fetch lands. They don't play many real lands. Just a Rest in Peace is not enough. All right, this will keep. We will put what? Emeria's Call to the bottom? What's our game plan? Yeah, let's put Emeria's Call to the bottom, see what happens. All right, well, opponent's on the play, which is bad because it means, please not Ragavan. Oh my God, it's Ragavan. It's bad because it means they have days on turn 1, and that is an issue. Well, we will play a Plains, play a Chrome Mox, exile Emeria's Call, and then play a Thalia. Baby, come here. Puppy eating things. Come here. Say hi to people, Bear. Say hi. Say hi to everyone. Say hi. And I'm eating all of your stuff. Opponent, 2 mana Lightning Bolt. Gets in with the Ragavan. Hits us. Gets a treasure. Steals a land. Well, Dragon Rage Channeler. I'll play the land. Chalice on 1. Perhaps too slow. Pass the turn. Ragavan's a brutal Magic card. I mean, I can see why all the Legacy players are talking about banning, or many Legacy players are talking about banning something from this deck now. It was already, I mean, Delver has traditionally been the best deck in Legacy, and now it also has, I mean, just a huge upgrade. You don't even got to play Delver anymore. You just get much better 1-drops. You get Ragavan and Dragon Rage Channeler. About it. Hits us. Steals our Court of Grace. That Wasteland's pretty tough. We don't play many non-basics in our deck, but now we're far away from this Palace Jailer. Jeez. Oh, that's such a tough draw. Well, there's something free to Wasteland. Brutal. I feel like this is the matchup our deck's designed for. It is just not lined up today, or not lined up this match. About it. Thanks for a while. One thing I've noticed about Legacy players is many of them are not very, very fast players. I think it might be, out of all the formats, I think Legacy might have the slowest players on Magic Online. Opponent steals a Ghostly Prison. Makes another treasure. 1 land, no problem with Ragavan. Do we draw a real card? Palace Jailer. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just over now, unfortunately. Wow! Brutalized again. These 3 Palace Jailers would be so sweet if they were able to be cast. That is MH2 Legacy Delver doing what it wants to do. Boy, we have the pieces to fight this too. We just did not. We just weren't able to resolve them. Like that is a game. Opponent deep in the tank for some reason. Opponent, just finish killing us, please. There's no reason. There's no reason to do this. All right, opponent. Brazen Borrower. All right, Bearby, you can get down. All right, opponent untaps. Gets and hits us. Yeah, I mean, there's not anything we can draw that matters now. We'll scoop it up. Much Abrew About Nothing time. We are legacying this week with mono white Monarch Prison, and that's fine. I mean, turn 1 Chalice potentially with some removal. Hopefully our opponent's on a creature deck rather than a spell combo deck, but Chalice is good against spell. Wasteland and Vile. All right, let's play a Plains. Let's play Chrome Mox and exile Emeria's Call. Yeah, it's gonna get Wastelanded anyway, and then just Chalice on 1. So we can chalice on one here, and then next turn, hopefully snag the vial with Skyclave. Bloodstain Maya. Opponent cracks it. Well, we'll see. See what our opponent's doing. Gotta be, okay, it's goblins. Sure. Oh, Ghostly Prison, sweet. Well, we will 1, 2, 3, Skyclave Apparition. Snag the vial. Opponent vials in. Mog Fanatic, okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Can we beat goblins? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know how this goes. Opponent pays the price on the Mog War Marshal. Goes to combat. Attacks. Let's just take it for now. If we block, they get to kill. Ooh, well, let's go attacking first. Hit ya. We do kind of want one more land at least. Well, hit you for 2, and then Ghostly Prison seems kind of insane here. Ghostly Prison, go. About it. Crate Maker, okay. So we're probably gonna have to kill that in one way or another. Opponent passes. Is it worth solituding? Oh, it's pretty painful. Blowing up our Chrome Mox, though, really sets us back. Let's just play another Chalice on one. What's the worst they do? They blow this up. Yeah, let's just pass. I mean, blowing up the Chrome Mox is actually what we're worried about most, but I don't know if we want to spend both Solemnities to kill the Crate Maker. That feels bad. We do need to keep hitting mana, though. We're kind of at a weird standstill at the moment. Opponent can't really get through the Ghostly Prison very easily, and we are a little late on mana ourselves. So no one's really doing much about it. All right, finds a land. So what's the worst thing that happens? A Crate Maker blow up Chalice, play a Lackey, kill our Skyclave. All right, so there goes the Chalice. So I do want to play a 1-drop by the looks. Ether Vial. All right, well, that is, I guess, obnoxious. Opponent passes. Can we draw lands, please? Skyclave. Well, Chalice on 1. Again. Pass the turn. What a weird setup. Opponent attempts. Takes up the Vial. And cracks Arid Mesa. So probably hit a 3-drop. Goblin Matron. Probably the best 3-drop. All right, what does our opponent get? I mean, I guess eventually they're going to get to Muxus. I think they can technically win without attacking with Slinglang Lieutenant. So that's something to be aware of. Like, we are going to need to do something sooner or later, or our opponent will just eventually, all right, get some Muxus. So that's a ways in the future, but it is a scary card for sure. Opponent passes. Well, we do draw a land finally. Well, play the land. Skyclave Apparition. Get rid of the Vial. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Our opponent's playing Skirk Prospector. That is unexpected. Most Legacy Goblin decks have a single Skirk Prospector. The question is, do we have to kill this now to stop the Muxus? Even though it will come down eventually. I mean, we can't stop it forever, right? I guess we let it happen and see what happens. Opponent untaps. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate that they managed to vial in the Skirk Prospector. Well, opponent's gonna spin it to win it. I mean, they can't attack us, but if they can hit things that can win without attacking, things are a little rough. So opponent sacks, casts a Muxus. Well, no whammies. No, this is just like historic. Just like historic. Opponent hits. Wow. All right, not much. Well, we're kind of okay with that. Opponent makes a token, makes a Muxus, but not much else. About it. Passes. Suppression Field. Well, let's Chalice on 2. Yeah, Suppression Field doesn't do much. All right, so Chalice is all around. Pass the turn. The good news is we still have this Ghostly Prison. Opponent, gotta pay the Echo. All right, does not pay the Echo. Opponent still has a ton of mana because of the Skirk Prospector, so they could potentially Muxus again. Opponent goes to combat. Gem Palm Incinerator, sure. We would really love to draw one more land so we can start casting Solitudes. So opponent cycles. All right, so opponent's just going to kill our stuff, sure. We would love to hit a land. Opponent goes to combat, not going to kill our stuff. Opponent goes to combat, attacks. Sacks. It's an 8/8. Opponent pings. Well, we will. I mean, I think we can take 8. We can take 8 this turn. If we draw land, hard casting the Solitude is just so much better. The risk, I guess, is Slinglang Lieutenant. Maybe we do have to. All right, yeah, I think we do. I don't think we want to take 8. So get rid of the Muxus, untap. A Mirror's Call tapped. And Miracle's tapped, go. So we found our land finally. Next thing we need the Monarchy. We need a Court of Grace. We got many goblins locked out, but Muxus can still do what Muxus does. About it. Oh no, they have another one. Oh, if they really have two Muxuses, we're in real trouble. Mons. About it. Passes. Chromox not doing a ton. Solitude number 2. Get rid of the Mons. Opponent's gonna do some sacking, kill the Solitude. All right, I mean, we're not doing anything at the moment. We have a lot of our opponent's cards locked down, but sooner or later they're gonna find another Muxus. Oh, this is a weird scenario. Weird scenario. About it. Finds the Sling Gang Lieutenant. Okay, that's also bad for us. Well, Ancient Tomb, go. Ay. About it taps. Oh, this is a clock, even through our ghostly prison. Yeah, we just haven't been able to find a way to get the Monarchy. And our opponents found a surprising number of goblins that they've been able to cast through these chalices. Like, Chalice on 1 and Chalice on 2 seems really good, but our opponents found a lot of the stuff that is expensive enough to cast through the chalices. Grenzo. Okay, that's kind of an issue. Magic card that's real? No. Pass the turn. Yeah, I think we're in some serious trouble. Opponent. So I mean, this lets our opponent just start dumping things into play potentially, even through the chalices. Wow. I don't think Grenzo. Interesting. So this is a unique build of goblins. Generally, Grenzo is not played, I don't think, in Legacy Goblins, but it's gonna be insane here. Opponent goes attacking. Well, we'll see. About it pays 4. Really gotta draw a real card. We don't have any Wraths in the deck, but we gotta draw something. Now I'm not even sure getting the Monarchy is very good because our opponent's just gonna immediately steal it back. And yeah, this is tough. We draw Caracas. Well, I mean, I guess the good news is it lets us bounce the Grenzo, but this is still not that good of news. Pass the turn. Wow, awkward. Things started off looking good, but then things just kind of fizzled. Opponent, Cavern, Goblin. So what is our plan in this matchup? Opponent's going to blow up the Caracas. What is our plan? Chalice doesn't seem great. Ghostly Prison's good. I mean, I guess Chalice could be good if it comes down early enough. Like, what really went wrong here, I think, is our opponent having the One of Fun of Skirk Prospector and and being able to get it down through our chalices with that one turn when they managed to have a vial. Like, this has given our opponent the mana they needed to do a bunch of things that they otherwise, I don't think, would have really had. Grenzo and Legacy. Spicy, I guess. About it. And now our opponent has a Cavern and Munitions Expert. Yeah, I think this one's over now. Now they have a Cavern. The chalices don't do anything. Huh. What do we even do in this matchup? The opponent hits us. Pays the price. Yeah, I think we're just pretty dead. Untap and Court of Grace way too late, and we'll scoop it up. This is interesting. So Sanctum Prelate doesn't do anything. Commando doesn't do anything. Like, I guess Containment Priest does a little something. I don't even know if Chalice is honestly worth it. It very well might not be, considering that our opponent's a deck that has 4 Cavern of Souls. Suppression Field. It's kind of funny that we have run into so many decks that aren't really playing fetch lands. We've run into a lot of non-fetch land decks, and we haven't really gotten much value out of the Suppression Field, like, at all. I mean, Containment Priest can shut down Muxus at least, which is something. I mean, Archon's not great either. Is Chalice worth it? We can't really blow up a land. So, like, once they have Cavern, they're gonna have it forever. And let's trim a couple. I guess we gotta keep 2. All right, well, we'll see. I think we gotta try to be somehow aggressive. I'm not sure how our deck does that, though. Well, we're gonna keep. No fast mana. We do have answers to Muxus. Ghostly Prison and the Court of Grace is good. I think a Ancient Tomb effect is probably our best draw, just to speed things up. We gotta get lands one way or another. We need mana. We'll take anything that makes extra mana. Getting down, like, Ghostly Prison next turn would be solid. I mean, this hand doesn't seem horrible. We got the Court of Grace at least, assuming we can get it on the battlefield. Well, Plains go. Untaps and Wooded Foothills. There's a fetch land. One of these days we're gonna have a good game where Suppression Field does something. So far we have not really been able to do that. We draw Archon of Emeria. Ugh. All right, that's also not super good. I mean, that's one of the cards we were sideboarding out, actually. So we need mana. We need a land. A land that makes 2 mana would be the best, but we will take any land. Opponent thinking, and oh, we really got to hit a land here. Pump fakes, Snoop. All right. Fetch land on top. Ooh, can we draw a land? Please, please, please. No. Oh God. All right. Well, that's a huge issue. Perhaps a game-ending issue. Oh, Crash Master on top. Well, I mean, we're running out of time. We need to hit the land, and we need to hit it now, or we're going to be too far behind for it to matter. About it. Vials are ticking up. Mana is adding up. No problem playing spells from our opponent's side. Goes to combat. No attacks. Well, I mean, we might as well play another Containment Priest. Oh, come on, deck. Show us that mana. Please, 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 please. Plains is the best, because there's a Wasteland, but we'll see. Opponent in the tank. Pyrokinesis, exiling most of their hand. Vials in. A Grenzo. We draw. A land? No. Well, okay. Suppression Field go. Ugh, good golly. Oh no! Oh, and they free roll randomly into a goblet. Oh, jeez. Okay, that's also unfortunate. Opponent. Randomly spins Gonzo. Oh, well, we're not going to be able to win this game without drawing mana. Like, that is the TLDR. Either we draw mana or we lose. And, oh, not looking good. Oh, Magic Gods. Why do Magic Gods not like the Monarchy? They must be British. Opponent, gonna pay to crack their fetch land. Sure. They get to hit us for a decent amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, our opponent's not a 1 card in hand. We have answers. We just can't. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, well, I would keep this hand every single time. I think this is about as good of a hand as we could hope for this matchup, but ouch, ouch, ouch. Well, we talked about it earlier with our opponent getting stuck on land. Sometimes you play Magic, sometimes you don't, and this is looking like a don't. Oh, we just have so many ants. Double Skyclaves, Palace Jailer, goes like, we have a handful of stuff where if we have 1 more mana, we answer all of these problems. Like, all of these problems go away. Opponent casts a Trash Master, hits us for a ton. Unfortunately, now it's too late. Like, even if we draw the land, we're so far behind that these things don't save us. Do we draw the land for the rub-ins? No. All right, well, sometimes you play Magic, sometimes you don't. This was a don't. So why don't we learn this week about Monarch Prison in Legacy? And record-wise, we went 2-3, was hoping for the 3-2 or better, but I mean, the deck was still sweet, and it did some really cool things, and I think we got to see really the good and the bad of the deck. We got to see the deck really go off. The best example was Affinity, I think, and that matchup, we had the turn 2 Court of Grace game, and when we get down Court of Grace early and can keep the Monarchy, which our deck is really good at doing, the deck feels really powerful. Like, Court of Grace just runs away with the game. On the other hand, we got to see some of the areas where the deck seems to struggle. Number one is, it seems to struggle against spell-based combo decks, and we talked about that in the intro. That was kind of expected. When we have Skyclave, Palace Jailer, Solitude, Ghostly Prison, 16 cards in our main deck that are really only good against decks that are playing with creatures. I guess Skyclave can hit some other permanents, but still, if our opponent's playing some sort of spell deck, like High Tide plays literally 0 permanents, it's all instants and sorceries, we got a lot of cards that don't do anything. Sure, we can bring in Thalia. Sure, we can bring in Sanctum Prelate. Those are good cards, but we got 16 cards that are dead, and we got like 5 cards to bring in. So those matchups seem really, really tough. Like, the spell-based combo decks seem pretty miserable for our deck to keep up with. The part that surprised me more is we struggled with like go-wide creature decks, goblins. We ended up losing to goblins, and one of the things I really wanted in that matchup was some sort of wrath. Like, our deck is good at picking off a single creature, but goblins is really good at putting multiple creatures on the battlefield and ringleading and matroning into more goblins, and they have cards that by themselves, Slinglang Lieutenant, puts a bunch of goblins on the battlefield. So all of our Palace Jailers, in Solitudes, in Skyclaves, weren't able to really keep up with the 2-for-1 nature of a deck like goblins. Maybe adding a Wrath of God or something similar to the sideboard could go a long way towards fixing those matchups. So I feel like this is a deck that is close to being good. Like, the good games were really good. Court of Grace was really powerful. We got to see the deck do some really sweet things. At the same time, had some issues with certain matchups, and I feel like maybe some of them could be fixed with our deck construction. It's kind of a tough balancing beam to walk, let's say, because we do want all these answers to creatures. And if we run into like big creature decks and Delver style decks, even though we lost to Delver, I think that should be a good matchup. I think that's what we're trying to beat. One of the decks we're trying to beat. I feel like those are the matchups where our deck is really going to shine. The problem is in our less good matchups. So we do need all of these removal spells to maintain the monarchy. If we cut too many of them, then we're not going to maintain the monarchy. We saw this in some games as well, where we like had the Court of Grays, but we didn't have a way to stop our opponent from just immediately attacking us back and stealing the crown, and we didn't have a creature to steal the monarchy back. So there's situations where we actually just can't play our Court of Grays, even though that's the best and most important card in our deck, because if we do, we're just going to give our opponent the monarchy, and they're going to get all that value and lose it to win the game. So I don't know, this deck is really interesting. I love the idea of the deck. I think it could probably use a bit more tweaking, maybe move a little bit lighter on the stuff that's designed to fight against creatures, and a little bit more towards stuff that's designed to fight against spells. But the plan overall is pretty solid. It's unique. It's cool to see Court of Grace in action. So that's Mono White Monarch Prison. That's our much Abrew for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the legacy action, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.